Well, as you may have seen, our tent got destroyed, and so we bought a new one. We swung by Cabela's and bought this West Wind 6. It was $250. I paid $180 for this REI one, but that was used. I knew they're like $450 or something. And I thought I would just point out some of the differences for you to consider. So obviously this one's standing, and that's because the auxiliary silver poles that go here and here got bent, but the two main poles are still okay. The rainfly also got tore to bits, but the kids are just using it as a place to play. So it's kind of like a mosquito shelter now. I think we're gonna keep it and use the fabric from the rainfly to make some stuff. So anyway, so we just set up this Cabela's one, West Wind 6, for the first time. And I think it's important to note that these are different price points. This one is almost twice the cost. So couple things that I like. All the zippers are YKK, so they feel good. Not a real fan of these poles. They just they feel really old-fashioned, and these are a little bit long, unnecessarily long. Whereas on the REI one, they're like that. I tend to like things that can't break. You know, like these plastic things can break, and they're unnecessary, and they feel cheap, and they have sharp edges and stuff like that. I'm also not a real fan of these type of poles, so I'll show you. These have the old school fiberglass pole with these metal couplings, and so the fit and finish is, well, the fit is kind of poor, which means it wobbles more. It's also, you can't slide these through the sleeves because you have all these edges to get cut. And if you get one of these clips in the wrong spot, it can't slide over the next section like it's supposed to. It gets caught. Whereas on the REI tent, you have a newer style, which is just this continuous aluminum, and then when it's there, it's basically perfectly flush. Granted, I think these are too small for the REI tent. I think they're too thin. You'll see a lot of people on the internet talking about that as well. I would agree with them. Yeah, one key characteristic of this tent is that basically you have to stake it. If you don't, like these poles in the fabric, they don't want to create this hexagon shape on their own. You have to stake it regardless of conditions. Otherwise you don't get the right shape. Whereas this one, you don't need to stake the body at all. And the rainfly only needs to be staked really for the vestibules. What? No, I don't think so. Anyway, so there's also some, like, I would say poorly thought out features. So like these tensioners allow you to tension once you've staked, but this whole thing is only like 5 inches. So once you loosen this enough to put a stake in it, like I did here, you know, you only have like an inch, maybe 2 of tensioning. So that's kind of like we have tensioners, but they're kind of useless. Also, this rope is just really big and sort of oversized, and that's probably because it's cheap. Yeah, everything on the tent kind of feels kind of old-fashioned to me, like what I used in the 90s when I was a kid. Like this type of loop where it's just a bit of the fabric sort of sewn to make a loop, versus like dedicated loops on this one. So like these are of a totally different material. They're quite a bit more sturdy and robust. The vestibule is interesting. It's kind of a side entry, and then you have like this sitting area, which is kind of cool. I do like that. I don't know how useful it will be to kind of have like this dry area, wet area, dry area again. But it's a cool idea. One thing I don't like about these sort of things, they give you clips like this that don't like lock or come down, like fasten at all. So basically this thing always falls down every time you take down the tent and put it up again. So you're always reattaching it. It has a back window, And I guess you could climb out of this if you wanted, but it's not really a door. And it has a hexagonal shape instead of the square, which feels less spacious to my wife and I. Just sort of off the cuff, but we'll see how it is. And let's see, there's one other thing I want to show. Oh, just by comparison, so the little gear tray that you have in here has clips like this, like mitten clips, and so they kind of stay in place. Now I will say, even technique, like whether you put that on the inside or the outside, if you put it on the inside like that, most of the time when we got into the tent, one of them had loosened, so if you move it to the outside, you get a little more tension, then it stays up. So there's little things like that. Obviously, I've set this tent up. I've set this tent up like 60 times, and this is just my first time with this one. And I would say it's not as intuitive. The instructions referenced things that didn't exist, like yellow and blue tie outs. It doesn't feel as high of quality, but it's also half the price. So you pay for what you get, right? I am grateful that there are shops like Cabela's and Bass Pro who offer lower cost options. And I'm also grateful, of course, that we had a chance to buy a new tent. And as you can tell, the kids like it. So yeah, just a bit of a review, kind of show the differences between the two. I would say the REI product is a better one, but I think it has the fatal flaw of those poles being too thinly, the diameter is too thin. Way better than our tent, you think? Yeah, so that's gonna be our tent for the rest of the trip. I don't like buying things with the intent of returning them. In fact, I think that's kind of wrong. I mean, Cabela's and REI don't have a rental program set up. They have a purchase program set up, but they do have nice return policies. So I don't buy things with the intention to use them and return them. But if we're not happy with it, I probably will return it in the end and look for a used version of an REI tent again. But yeah, just a couple of differences in case you're curious. It's not that often that I have two tents next to one another, so I thought I would take the opportunity and just show some of the differences you might consider. All right, take care.